All right, welcome everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is a Saturday where we get to talk about things that are happening in the tech world and how it applies to consumers in general. And we get to share some insights with you and some experiences with you that allows all of us to sort of every show get just a little bit smarter than we were the previous show. And so if you'll sit back and grab a pen and paper, you can take some notes and become a better user. We go off the rails every once in a while on some things that are interesting in science or technology or business in general, and we have this format to talk about it. And then it's fun to every once in a while. This industry is really dry, and a lot of you that like tinkering in it find it fascinating, but everybody else finds it humorless and nice and gray, and it's really hard to get all excited about technology unless you're really engaged in it. So in this show, we sort of we attempt to do that, where we try to pick your brain a little bit, get a little bit of a reaction, a little prod, and just to keep you interested, see if you're still awake. So this forum is amazing. Just over the years, we've been able to assemble not only an audience of loyal customers for Youngstown Computer and doing business with the people that we talk about, but also we have a great depth of experience in the audience of people who during the program share tidbits over the text messaging or even call in the program and share their insights. And that stuff is all welcomed. If the forum, if this is about the learning experience and only getting a bunch of people who want to get deeper into this and delve more and learn more, that's the only way you accomplish it, because not one person has a philosophy that governs all things. So if you're out there and you hear something that's in your wheelhouse and you want to share your experiences, as always, I invite you to to call into the program and contribute and participate. And all of you that's listening on terrestrial radio, as well as iHeart Radio, as well as YouTube and Facebook, all of you out there in the listenership, the listenerscape, welcome to the program. And feel free, you can call the phone number, 330-729-9977, and participate that way. Or you can text me at 333-1570, same area code, 330, and I will read those text messages all program long. So feel free to do that. I have a couple of topics, as I hinted on Facebook this morning, that we're going to talk a little bit about some math and some numbers. All of us are sort of have this governing, this governing math that is delivering information to us. So we're going to get into how this stuff works and whatnot. So stay tuned for that. But there's a phone call already out there, so we're going to go ahead and start taking phone calls right off the get-go. So let's go first to Brian. Brian, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, good afternoon, Joe. I have a question about internet phone. Possibly you could be a good contact for that. I currently have my phone provided with my cable provider, who used to be Time Warner, and it seems to work. The voicemail seems to work intermittently, and it's for a small business. And having problems with not getting updates on the voicemail and whatnot. I'm basically looking for another provider. We've already looked into AT&T and CenturyLink, and I was wondering if you know of any other routes to go, maybe some other type of internet-based VoIP system.
Now, do you want to separate from the person that actually provides your internet service, or do you want to? Is it more convenient to have one service provider, doing both?
I don't have a preference. I mean, the internet seems to be okay. Once in a while, it seems to be spotty. It'll kick off and back on. But as far as the internet, with them you get high speeds, 100 megabits per second. But it's the phone service with their voicemail is not working. I may not get messages till a day or two later.
All right. So what they do is they have these third-party services that you don't necessarily have to have your phone traffic, immediately routed to them. They don't have to port your number to them or anything like that. So I'll just name one of them, one we're real familiar with, Grasshopper. I don't know if you've heard of them. So basically what you would do is take your number through Time Warner, and then you would put the call forwarding feature on and forward it to your Grasshopper number. When it makes it to the Grasshopper number, now Grasshopper has its own voicemailing system, messaging system, extension system, prompting system, and whatnot. So that call goes through their stuff. So it bypasses the voicemail there and goes right into that. Now, Grasshopper's not the only game in town. There are hundreds of these third-party. that you don't have to attach physically to the line. You can just use your forwarding service that you already have to send them off to those services.
Okay, I see. Then that would be an added cost. So yeah,
it would, right? So you would want to take your the services that you have with Spectrum, and you want to limit it down so it's just a number. So you immediately forward to another service if they'll allow you to do that. If not, then you can port the number directly over to Grasshopper, bypass Spectrum altogether, and then bypass Spectrum altogether, and then the phone, when it rings, it goes right to Grasshopper, and then it gets distributed there.
Right. So I would still be paying for the phone service through Spectrum, though, right?
Well, if you port it, you wouldn't. You'd actually kill the phone service and have Grasshopper field the phone service, or Vonage field the phone service.
Well, and then I would just keep internet through Spectrum.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so you'd only be paying an internet bill.
Yeah, and it's going to be required because the phone call is actually going to still be coming over your cable to ring, but in reality, the service is being routed through a Vonage or through a Grasshopper. All
right, I will have to check them out then.
All right.
Thank you much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being out there. And when we talk about these services that eventually become decentralized, where we have, you had a utility and your phone line came through one provider, and then now literally anyone can offer you services once you get a physical cable into your house. So that's the important part. If there's a company that can physically run a piece of copper, a piece of fiber, keep a piece of coaxial, now you are connected to the internet. That's really all that is required. You can go, once you have Spectrum in there, you can get phone lines that come out of a little voice over IP box that translates the internet connection into a voice line. Somebody makes a call, it sends an internet signal out to your voice over IP box, the data is translated in that little voice over IP box, and then the phone rings and you get a phone call. Your voice isn't traveling down a copper cable, right? It's being converted to data. The data packets are being sent over the internet just like anything else, and when they arrive on the other side, they're being translated back. And that's essentially, we benefit, the marketplace benefits when we decentralize, because then you literally have hundreds of people who are vying for your business. So the features, the cost, all of that, comes into play when there's not just one game in town. So that's something I firmly believe that, it seems in the beginning, when you have this unlimited choice, it gets confusing because you don't really know what you're choosing. Well, if you think about it as this, you now are responsible for everything. You got to do this in segments where one company is going to be your ISP. They're going to give you an internet connection. Now, for the sake of ease, you might want to have your ISP also extend your television and also extend your voice, your voice or your phone service, but you don't have to. You're not beholden to that. And so they like to bundle things together because most of you in this audience will take convenience over the feature set pretty much every time. So, but if you're unhappy with how Spectrum's working, in this case, and I guess my first order of business should have been, Spectrum's voicemail service. I don't hear a lot of that in the field. So maybe giving them a chance to correct it, maybe it's faulty equipment, maybe it's a bad connection, something like that. I probably should have first said that. I'm assuming that he's already been down that road if he's calling up to this point. But, the voice over IP, there's some, when we see problems with voice over IP, it's because of your phone service is coming over your internet, and if your internet isn't real great, like there's certain areas of our city here that just don't have very good physical connections, and so internet is not very good. So if you're in one of those areas that have 2 megabits, and you think you're going to jam voice over IP service through there, you're going to be able to pull it off sometimes, and then when you start using the internet on another machine or it gets, jammed up, your voice is going to suffer. You're going to get, disconnections, or it's going to cut out on you or something like that. You're just going to have problems. In a perfect world, you're going to give an exclusive bandwidth to your voice over IP traffic. Okay, so if you have one network, and I'll tell you how Spectrum usually sets it up. If you do it yourself, you're going to have one network, and then you're going to be responsible for giving your voice traffic a priority over your data traffic. In your router, there's a thing called quality of service. And you can specify that there's going to be certain types of traffic that can be treated different than other types of traffic. So, but if Spectrum comes in there, they're going to give you one router just for your phones and one router for your internet. So really, they're giving you two pieces of equipment so you don't have to mess with the quality of service. If you've got internet service and it's spotty, you've got dedicated bandwidth. Okay, so in service or equipment, I'd probably give the vendor a shot at fixing that stuff first before you go and reinvent the wheel here, because there's a lot of, I'm not going to call it liability, but there's a lot of responsibility when it's on you, right? Because there's nobody to call when you go shop a third-party vendor and you have all these features and sometimes you have problems. I mean, Spectrum will send a guy out to you. Grasshopper will talk to you on the phone. There's a big difference between that, especially if you're early on in this stuff and you don't consider yourself very technically savvy. So thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. Glad you brought that up so we could talk a little bit about voice over IP. Next, we're going to go to Steve. Steve, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hey, yeah. Hey, my first attempt at wireless service was a iPod, and this was years ago. So I had an iPod. I used it well, got everything I needed. Then I have an iPad. My iPod now does not hold its charge. I mean, I could charge it up, and I take it, and it dies. Calling up Apple quoted me a price of getting a new battery possible. It's cheaper to get another iPod. And I like the little handy thing about an iPod, because I'm not that computer savvy. Can you transfer from my old iPod to a new iPod, everything I have saved on it?
Yeah, you could use a computer and iTunes to transfer it down to a computer, and then when you get the new one, you can transfer it back up.
Okay, so you would take it off of the iPod onto a computer.
Yep.
And then pop it back into the new iPod?
Exactly.
You can't just do iPod to iPod?
Doubtful.
Okay. So now that takes a little bit more skill, so I'll have to make sure I figure that out.
There you go.
All right, thanks.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And that's a routine that most of us go through every once in a while. Like most of us get, the cloud backups, and we hope that everything's synchronizing up with the cloud. But having every once in a while doing a computer backup where you plug in your iPhone, your iPad, your iPod, let iTunes grab all the data that's on there. Just that in case you do get, hardware problems, or you have to get a new device, that easily transfers from, device to device versus downloading it through the internet or any other way. So even if this scenario isn't the one that you guys are dealing with, it's probably a good routine and a good habit to get in, because there's a lot of times where even though I had, I could have rebuilt the iCloud backup, right? It was so much easier and faster just to go back to yesterday. And sometimes it'll create a backup by accident. I'll plug it in to charge it in the morning, just like last night. I hate when I do this. I hate when I plug in my phone when I'm half sleeping and it didn't really make contact, and I wake up to a dead phone when it had 8 hours or 7 hours to charge, be perfectly 100%. I wake up and it's all the way dead. So then I got to spend the morning routine getting enough charge to get me through the day, so I don't have a dead phone. But anyway, sometimes I'll plug it into the computer because I was stupid the night before, and I'll accidentally get a backup when it was plugged into the computer because I have it automatically, when it's tethered by a USB cable, that it performs, a backup. So thanks for that phone call. Appreciate it. And so we're going to talk about the formulas that go on behind here. But I do want to tell you the new segment that we're going to start doing here, and we did it way back, but we didn't do it as far as often enough. Was where we sort of review practical products that most of you face. I'll give you this little tip here. Wireless in your house. Most of us have wireless, and usually, we don't put a lot of thought into it. It's just what showed up, or the router that we bought 10 years ago. But there's a lot more dynamics to it that give you good wireless coverage around your house. And with as dependent as we're getting on wireless, it's pretty important to have really good, solid wireless networking in your house. And we're going to talk a little bit about that during the show today, too. So you want to give me a call, 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 330-333-1570. I'll read those when we come back. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back.
Stop by your local Chevy dealer today for incredible offers on our lineup of amazing crossovers, like the 2019 Chevy Equinox. With technology to keep you entertained, safety features that help you stay on track, and performance that makes driving fun. You also get a trio of powerful engines to choose from, so you can find the one that suits your needs perfectly. The 2019 Equinox. Treat yourself on every trip. Right now, qualified lessees can get an ultra-low mileage lease on a 2019 Chevy Equinox for around $199 a month. That's for 36 months with just $31.99 due at signing. Your payments may vary. No security deposit required. Tax, title, license, and dealer fees extra. Mileage charge of 25 cents per mile over 30,000 miles. Residential restrictions apply. Take new retail delivery by 10/31/18. See dealer for details. Don't miss out. Get a 2019 Chevy Equinox for around $199 a month. Visit allstarchevroletdealers.com for details.
A paranormal evening with Alice Cooper.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Alice Cooper, live in concert. Saturday, October 27th, Packard Music Hall.
Welcome to my night.
The new album, Paranormal, is out now. Tickets on sale now at the box office or Ticketmaster.com. Produced by JAC Live. Alice Cooper, live.
Every family is a universe, a network of people who love and support and count on one another to be there. And in every universe, there's a center, a rock, an anchor, the person you couldn't live without. At Mercy Health, we know every patient means the world to someone, so we provide the compassionate care you need to stay strong and healthy for those who need you. Mercy Health, healthcare for the universe of you. To learn more about how we care for your universe, visit mercy.com/universe.
Unbelievable.
What is, Alice?
See the news? People from outside Youngstown trying to pull the wool over our eyes again.
How so?
It's called the Drinking Water Protection Bill of Rights.
Is that the one the special interests are pushing?
Yep, the same special interests who have tried this 7 times.
Oh, yeah, and Youngstown voted it down every single time.
We've seen it before. 7 times they tried shutting down factories, canceling construction projects. 7 times they pushed extreme regulations, spiking utility rates on families. 7 times they tried killing our jobs. The so-called Drinking Water Protection Bill of Rights only harms our community. The special interests don't care. They've stuck it on the ballot an 8th time. Democrats, Republicans, independents agree it's way too extreme. Labor, community leaders, and business leaders say no, and you should too. Vote no on the Drinking Water Protection Bill of Rights, paid for by Mahoning Valley Jobs and Growth Coalition.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and we get to do this here on Saturdays, share some time together, talk about things that are happening in tech. Hopefully, you can share some experiences with me that allow me to kind of vomit computer advice and vomit experiences and hopefully help everybody. That's the worst word to say on the radio when when trying to inspire you to call. I'm going to call and you're going to vomit, right? All right. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Cindy. Cindy, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yes. I have a QuickBooks program, and I went in to get into so I can do my quarterlies, and when I clicked on that site, this thing come up, and all it does is ding. It won't close out. And I keep pushing that little thing, and I could read what it says behind. And it was downloading something maybe to a read-only file, and it's 99% downloaded, and it's not going anywhere.
Okay, and I'm assuming this is the standalone version where you own the program and it's installed on that computer?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming that an update's happening and that update that's running is not able to happen. I usually will hit like alternate tab to see if there's any other menus or screens behind, making sure hey, we need to update your company file. It's in use. Would you like to close down? Because that will cause it to be hung up if it's waiting for some feedback from you. It's tough to tell you to do this, but if it's not able to finish up, you might have to force close the program so that you can run that same update. Now, did you manually download it, or did it start on its own?
It started on its own.
Okay.
No, it did ask me. It did come up, and I clicked on it, and for whatever reason, it never finished.
Okay. What you might need to do, if it download, did it ask you if you wanted to save or run that update?
No.
Okay.
No, like I said, it only downloaded 99% and stopped.
Okay. Well, like I said, you're going to have to look to make sure there aren't any other windows open. And if there aren't, if it's just stuck there, you're going to want to force close the QuickBooks application. and then you're going to relaunch it. Now, you can just restart the computer. That'll do the same thing. Or you can use Task Manager and just close that application out. The next time you open it, I would probably leave it on maybe the home screen and try to physically run the update or download that part manually, because I think that's what's probably happening. If you do the update again, it'll probably get hung up at 99% because the application's open and it won't close down.
Yeah. The problem is I need to get in there so I can get my quarterlies done.
Yeah, well, the next time you open it, it'll try to run, but you can cancel it, and that'll give you the ability to at least use the application before the update starts on its own.
Okay.
You'll get another crack at it.
I'll try that.
Okay.
And, if I have any problems, if I need to bring it over to you to work this out for me, can I do that?
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you the number. I'll give everybody the number here in a minute. Go ahead and write it down and get something scheduled with one of our guys.
Okay.
All right.
Because my problem is Wednesdays I do my payroll.
Okay.
And then that kind of puts me in a tight spot if I can't get into it.
Right. And, do you pay for the contract with Intuit? Do you pay like a service fee every year? Like you get the new version every year?
Yes.
Okay, so if you do, they might be able to help you too. So you might want to call their customer support and see if they can get you quicker than we can.
Okay.
But if not, Monday we'll be able to take care of you.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate it.
And thank you.
All
And
right.
I'll wait for your number.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, that number, if anybody needs something, 330-259-7278. Write that number down. We both have commercial services and residential services. So one of the first questions you get asked when you call that number, if this is for commercial or residential, because it's handled by two different companies and two different staffings. So if it's commercial, make sure you specify that, and we'll make sure that we get one of the commercial guys to field that out. So 330-259-7278. And let the answering service know you're interested in having someone scheduled. And then, like I said, first thing on Monday, we'll make sure that we get somebody on the case. Okay, so we're gonna take a break. Pete, I see you're out there. We're gonna make sure we take your call when we get back. If you want to call the show, 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 330-333-1570. And when we come back, we're going to talk about algorithms after we talk to Pete. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. And today's just a chilled, laid-back day. I don't know, I just feel really good and relaxed. Less stress. It's really good. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number. If you want to text me, it's 330-333-1570. And I will read those text messages along the show today. And I will feel free at any time to jump in and talk and share some experiences. Really, don't be afraid asking some questions that you think might be, small time or simple or whatever, because I use what you say and ask to dig deeper. So no matter who you are at what level during this program, I hope that you can pick something up and make use of it. And we kind of all get smarter, along the way. So algorithms. Okay, so you're gonna over the next, if you haven't been heard about them or read articles about them in the news and whatnot, and let me tell you what an algorithm is, because you're going to need to get familiar with what it is. They're going to be, algorithms are going to be vilified over the course of the rest of your life. Okay, so we're going to be granting companies the ability to use algorithms, right? Because algorithms are amazing, right? They really do a good job. And I'll give you an idea of what an algorithm is. Think of it as a crude form of artificial intelligence. So we think of our artificial intelligence as a box that kind of knows how to govern itself, knows how to respond, knows how to do stuff. It has programmed, intelligence it's complete. It can learn, but it's complete. It can do stuff. Well, a basic version of that would be an algorithm. And so let's just say you had a motion sensor in one of the rooms in your house. So you walk in, the light comes on, you walk out, the light goes off, right? So that sensor performs a task. Now, we can make that more complicated by putting a set of conditions on the light coming on, or how long it comes on, or things that it's capable of doing. Okay, so if I walk into a room and I've walked in there before, okay, so the conclusion is that the device or the programming or the software can make a guess that if you're walking in and out of a room, you might be searching for something. So if you've walked in 10 minutes ago and you walk back into the same room, rather than waiting 30 seconds to turn the light out, it waits maybe 15 seconds to turn the light out. So depending on not just a direct decision based on a single set of circumstances, it starts to weigh other factors in there with what results that it can deliver to you. So in its most simplified form, a light can do different things depending what data gets put into it. So if you walk into a room and it's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you're usually at work, you can have the alarm go off. So it's the same sensor and it's the same light, but based on a separate set of circumstances, it can deliver a different outcome. And it's allowed to then weigh different conditions against wherever you're doing. So if you're out of your GPS and it's on a weekend, it might give you different directions on a weekend than it would on a weekday. So where algorithms start to matter in our day-to-day life is that there's especially in our digital life when we go on Facebook or social media. Okay, and I'm telling you using social media because there was an article this morning about Facebook. Now you have to really, really trust the people who write the algorithms for the services that you use. You have to really trust them, and you have to really agree with them because they wield an extraordinary amount of power because they write the formulas that gives you results. They could, and they don't share these algorithms with you. They don't share the weights. Okay, so let's just say I used this example this morning. 4,000 news articles came out overnight. I read 25 of them. Okay, what decided to deliver me 25 articles that I would be interested in, that I knew that my thirst for what happened overnight, was quenched, and I was able to say, yeah, I'm caught up. There was 3,000 other articles that weren't delivered to me. So who got to decide what was delivered and what wasn't delivered? Well, you hope that it's intelligent, where people are trying to serve you and your interests, not serve you their interests, right? That's why I said we have to really trust the people we're providing. So what if they don't like pepperoni pizza? Okay, because they don't like pepperoni pizza, they weight pepperoni pizza like really down the list. So you will never be delivered a coupon for pepperoni pizza. Now, cheese pizza, absolutely. You'll get coupons all the time because you buy pizza and you like coupons, so they'll deliver it. But because they have a bias against a certain something, they can take and behind the scenes without you ever knowing, because really what you're not delivered is never, you're never shown that, right? It's behind the scenes. So you won't only notice it unless it's really, like off the charts dramatic. Like if you get a dramatic shift and say, hey, you know what? I haven't seen, half my friends on Facebook. I wonder what happened to them. And it's because an algorithm hid you conversations from people who you weren't engaging with. So then you go engage with a couple of people and respond to a couple of their posts, and you see they start being populated on your feed again. And that's the healthy use of algorithms, where they're delivering you messages and hiding other messages, because you are incapable. You will stop using social media. You will stop using email. You will stop going after news sources if you can't find what you want, right? And you get delivered too much. If you open your mailbox in the beginning of the day and there are 500,000 messages, right? It's now too big so you can't use it. So we trust in technology to say, hey, let's trim that down. Let's have a filtering system that gives me the stuff I really need to know is at the top. And maybe if there's 20 of them, somebody figured out that if there's 20, I'll read them all. If there's 50, I'll read half. If there's 500,000, I'll read almost none, right? And so these algorithms, those healthy algorithms, allow us to deal with immense amount of data to make immense amount of decisions on our behalf. And this intelligence is supposed to make it so that only the top of what we're interested in gets to us. Or, if let's just say you take an auditing session and you say, hey, Mr. Computer, show me everything that would have come to me and make sure that you're right. And then you start getting delivered some of the stuff that would have been filtered out. And you start saying, whoa, Mr. Artificial Intelligence here, Mr. Algorithm, you got this wrong. There's this person that I really want to see stuff from. I don't want you making that decision. That kind of auditing is what I would expect if in a healthy system that really isn't scared of showing you what's behind, what strings are being pulled. So this topic, and again, Facebook was guilty of taking a political leaning and biasing against that political leaning, and when it was shown, they apologize. and they fix it. But what does that mean to you as a consumer? What does fixing it mean? Does that mean that they no longer use an algorithm, or just that little segment, that little bias was ripped out of there, and now they're still making decisions, but do we trust them the second time when they are making decisions on our behalf? So that's the important question as we weigh that, where, these services like Amazon and like Facebook and like Twitter, we're stuck. We don't have the fact that we can fire people. We can say, all right, Facebook, I don't like the fact that you're hiding stuff from me. Let me get my news elsewhere. And enough people do that. And like I said, you get to correct it through the marketplace. But what happens if we wait too long and they're the only game in town and not enough people leave them and people just put up with those biases? And that's the scary part to an open and free society, is we hope that if you're hiding stuff from me, it's the stuff that you really should hide from me. But I don't trust people, and I think, in the long enough term, what will be hidden from you without you being able to decide if you want it hidden from you, if you're just trusting, you're going to find out down the road that they hid something from you that worked out for them and not for you. They did it for them and not for you. And that's when, this is like, all right, stop, no hiding anything from me. And then technology comes unglued. So algorithms, good. People controlling the algorithms behind the veil, bad. That's the way I see it. And, having more transparency between what those algorithms are trying to deliver. Everybody's got a business to run and everybody's got to make money. So if your algorithms are making you ad revenue, I get that. I understand that. But if it's nefarious, if we start seeing that they're being used inappropriately or with bias, and you're in a state where you've got control of a marketplace or an industry, that's where I see that we need to add a little bit of cynicism, that these people aren't as lily white as they need to be with as much control that they have. So let's take some phone calls. 330-729-9977. Let's go first to Matt. Matt, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hey, thanks so much. And
Sure.
to answer your question, I don't trust Facebook anymore. But I'm actually calling about my wife's iPhone.
Okay.
She somehow, because she says she didn't push any buttons, but somehow she deleted her notes, and specifically her notes that had all of her passwords on it.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, she also didn't realize that she had her iCloud backup button in the off position, so she didn't have any backups on iCloud. She never plugs into a computer with her iPhone because she just works off of her iPad, so she didn't have any computer backed up versions. And I looked everywhere to try to recover the deleted note, despite the fact that there's this deleted note file. It wasn't in there. And I ended up, unfortunately, biting on an advertisement for a program that would find the files. And it was very interesting because I get this program downloaded. It's free. You run it, and it says, oh, yes, here's your file. And, in fact, it showed the specific deleted note that I was looking for as a deleted file. But, of course, it couldn't recover the file unless you paid them $39.95, which I proceeded to do, only to find out that file recovered was empty. So I just wondered if you had any other thoughts about what were my options.
All right, so those, and it absolutely, it might not be the program. So basically, when you delete something, it allows that space to be used by something else, right? So when you recover it, you got a coin flip of a shot that space hasn't already been used or corrupted or whatnot. So it's only a chance. So you can use maybe a couple of different programs, and I know that gets expensive when you go through your third one and they're still recovering an empty file. But I think that's sort of proof. We've used a couple of these, and they vary from $30 to $100, and they can do notes and contacts and pictures and whatnot. And like I said, it's really good about seeing that there was a file there before, but it's a coin flip whether or not it can actually download that. So I'm going to say that first program you used was probably right, that it's just a blank file sitting there that's been partially overwritten or corrupted.
Which means there's no option to recover that file in any other way.
Right. Once it's deleted and the operating system's allowed to reuse that space, if a file comes along and uses partial of that, then you can't assemble anything, and it's damaged beyond recovery.
So the good news is my wife can't use any of her credit cards online anymore.
There you go. All right. So there's an optimistic view.
right. Well, I just thought I'd take a shot. Thanks so much. Enjoy your program.
All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate you being out there. And so in Matt's case, I mean, you can maybe try another program, and maybe it's a little bit more thorough. But unless you're super desperate, I think that first program is going to tell you all you need to know. Now, the one that I use is I think it's called iSkysoft Toolbox, and it's a recovery program, same as what he was using. It's $60, and it does the same thing where it can go back into something that's been deleted, or I've had phones that we've totally restored, and we can grab some data here and some data there. But very important, and if you can go back in time, you would go and turn on the iCloud backup, right, on important things, and every once in a while you'd plug it into iTunes so you can have a copy, even if it's an old copy. Especially in this case, you would have gladly taken an old copy of your password list instead of a no copy of your password list. All right, let's take the next call. Let's go to Joe next. Joe, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, Joe. Just a general question about
Sure.
routers. How do you change the password? Do you type in an IP address into your browser to access the router?
Most of the time. So either you have two kinds of routers, or three kinds of routers. So the one kind of router, you plug it into your network, and then it's usually like 192.168.1.1 or 192.168.0.1. And then when you point your browser at that IP address, you get a little user interface that allows you to log into the configuration file and set IP addresses. The second one requires a controller. So Unify is a company that uses controllers where you actually load some software on a computer, and the computer looks around your network and then grabs the configuration files from the hardware. So you actually change it in the computer, and then the computer sends a configuration to all of the devices. And then a third is governed by sort of like an app on your phone. So Google has their mesh Wi-Fi, and so it scans your network and it configures them via phone. So one of those three ways to get into your router.
Okay, my daughter got a new Netgear router, and I don't think she changed the password. I think it's just whatever came with the thing.
Right. Netgears are definitely ones that you just put the IP address in the in the browser, in the URL for the browser, and then you get into the configuration.
Okay, very good. Now, I've noticed just driving around the neighborhood with my little tablet, a lot of router signals show up, and a number of them will just have the manufacturer's model number as say a username. It'll show that the thing is locked, that you can't access it. I'm going to guess that in those cases, those people have not gone in and made any changes, and they probably used the generic password. What do you think?
Yeah, and if you don't, if the SSID is what broadcasts, and then you have to, if it has a lock on it, you still have to give them a password. Most of them will make like a random one that ships with it, so chances are you're still pretty safe if you just use the one that came with it. But I'm one of those people that I change the SSID and the password right off the get-go because I don't want somebody to be able to come over and look at a sticker and without me giving the password. So I'm with you that I'm changing that sucker.
Yeah, real good. All right, thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you for the phone call. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being out there. And we are going to do a whole segment on routers coming up after this next set of breaks. So if you are, you have a router that's more than 5 years old, you're going to have to listen up to this because it's going to be good stuff. You're going to put together your plan for getting Wi-Fi nice and dependable and fast and high-performing internet in your house. So listen up. Even if you got it right now, if it's 5 years old, you're probably due to have it replaced. Larry, I see you're out there. We'll make sure we take your call as soon as we get back from this break. 330-729-9977 or 333-1570. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and we get to do this on Saturday, talk about things that are happening in tech, open the phone lines to you, and let the conversation begin. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Gary right off the Larry right off the get-go. Larry, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, Joe, good afternoon.
Hi.
I have a Sangene Internet Wi-Fi radio, and it uses a proprietary program with Frontier Silicon Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And unfortunately, 570 WKBN isn't a part of that program.
Okay.
But if I had the numerical URL, I could go ahead and punch that in and actually be able to use my Wi-Fi to listen to 570. How do I get that number?
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's static or that's dynamic. I'm going to have to look and try to bring it up in a browser. If you can go to a computer and you can find a direct link that will use an embedded player in order to play, will the device be able to do that?
No.
Okay. That's what's going to be required. So basically what happens is that when it loads up a little Java applet or a Flash applet, it follows a URL path that engages that player. That's how it plays over the websites and whatnot. If you have a player that can't run that kind of content, man, I don't know. There used to be this publication of like XML links. I'll see if I can find it over the next break, and if I can, I'll make sure I mention it.
Okay, because like right now I'm looking at one website and it's giving me the web page 188.123.114. That's what I would need, correct?
Not necessarily, because you're looking at the path to the page. It might be embedded in a different part of the page. So you'd have to see the player, the path that it's using. So if you take that IP address and you plug it into a browser and you get a stream, like we use VLC, and so use VLC, put that in there and see if you can stream from that link, then you're right, you got the right IP address. But I don't think it's going to be that simple with the 570 page.
Okay.
But I'll look into it. I'll see what I can find.
Thank you very much, Joe.
You're welcome. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. And just so you know, for the rest of us here, basically how that works is that every stream sort of has a home, right? And if I wanted you to be able to hear my stream, I would put a little player, something that's capable of playing audio over a website, and then I tell my player where the stream source is. And it's a long string of of data that might stay the same and might be different. So we use Restream.io. It's a streaming service, and my stream pretty much stays the same from the broadcast, but it doesn't from the source. So you couldn't put my stream in there. You'd have to use either one of my sources. Go to Facebook, go to YouTube, or go to podcast in order to get it. There's no active link that you can just drop into that source to play it. So it all depends on how it's being broadcast is how you can pull it into one of your devices. So thanks for that phone call. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to take another break. Gina, I see you out there. We'll take your call as soon as we get back from this break. And we got some text messages that came in. We'll make sure that we read those too. So 330-729-9977. And we also got 333-1570 is the text messaging line. And we're going to talk about some Wi-Fi, some mesh Wi-Fi and regular Wi-Fi. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. We're talking about things that are happening in tech. Always free to open the phone lines for you guys and ask questions, talk about things that are happening in your world. And we use your experiences to help others talk a little bit deeper about the things that you bring up here in the air. Just so everybody, by proxy, can learn through everything that we talk about here. So people behind us, we're helping up. People ahead of us, we're learning from. And then we set the stage just to every week get a little bit smarter than we were the previous week. So 330-729-9977 or text me at 333-1570. Let's go to Gina next. Gina, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi. I was calling to find out if you could tell me, how does Glimpse work? When I get a message on my text, like, hi, where are you? And then there's the Glimpse thing. How does that work? Is that like a tracker or?
Which app are you talking about?
Well, when I get a text message like from a person and there's like a Glimpse signal, like a little icon in there, is that like a locator or they want to know where you are, or how does that work? It's like by Google Glimpse or something.
Yeah. I've not used it. As you're talking here, I'm looking up because I'm not familiar with it at all. It looks like, let's see, it will use your GPS locator to send message respondents. I'm just reading right from the web here. It looks like it's a little application that runs on, do you have Verizon by chance?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like it's specific to Android devices running on Verizon that'll allow you to send GPS information to somebody in text messages so you don't have to type it out. Looks like what it is.
Oh, okay, because I didn't know. It's always like when I get a response, like, where are you? Or, where will you be? It's like a locator, and then I'll get like a little glimpse icon, and I'm like, are they like wondering where I am? Or
Yeah, your phone's doing that, trying to make suggestions, trying to be helpful so that it can save you some keystrokes, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. good enough.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
All
Gina.
Right, thank you.
All right. Appreciate the phone call. And again, that was off the cuff, just Googling as we were going. And so from, our privacy people, these artificial intelligence or these algorithms that are making decisions for us, you could be having a conversation, and this is not like science fiction. This is not out of the realm of possibility, that if you're having an idle conversation with someone in the car talking about, I wonder what the weather is going to be like tomorrow, and then you open up your phone and your weather app pops up and it delivers you your weather without you having to do anything, right? You have to know where, in the world of what I'm afraid of and not, are you afraid of idle listening and delivering, helpful things? If it's truly just on your phone, didn't send it to anybody else, are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with conversations being listened to so you can apply those algorithms to delivering you content? And that's the proposition. That's what we're going to either tolerate or not. So to answer your question about Glimpse, I hope that was accurate. And Glimpse wouldn't be the only application that does stuff like that. There are a lot of applications that sit in the background. And every once in a while your phone will say, hey, whatever's trying to use your GPS, would you allow it to? Or it will use your microphone, or this wants to use your camera. If you give a permission, right, then when that app is open, it can use those things. So if you give, recording ability to Facebook or an app, then it has the ability to access your microphone. So again, privacy concerns. I don't want to scare anybody and say that our devices are going to start conspiring against us, but our devices are going to start conspiring against us. 330-729-9977. Some text messages that came in over the previous hour. I use the word vomit as far as vomiting information. This listener suggested that I use spew instead of vomit. And that would have been a better word to use. So thank you very much. I use vomit a lot when we have our morning meetings about, it's one of my favorites. I don't know why, because I guess it gets a reaction because it's so gross. And so it became one of my favorites. So spew is definitely a better word. So thank you for that suggestion. What are your thoughts about using Google Voice to run 2 phone numbers on one device? Are there any other services that perform better or worse for this activity? Thank you. Okay, so Google Voice, Google has these little experimental services where they'll get into an industry and they'll make some really good software and they'll offer some unbelievable free products that they don't really advertise as themselves doing. So many years ago, this has got to be every bit of 6 or 7 years ago, they created voice.google.com, Google Voice, and what they bought up blocks of numbers. And they offered them with your Gmail account that you can get a Google Voice account. And it works as this virtual phone number, virtual text messaging, virtual voicemail system. It's totally managed by your Gmail account. And all you really have to do to qualify for one of these phone numbers is have a valid Gmail account. And so you can grab a phone number and connect it to your Gmail account. And then once you have your number that you use, you give people that number, you can have it do stuff like, collect text messaging and forward messages and forward the phone calls to any number you'd like. So we use it a lot, like when we have to do, we run an ad and we don't necessarily want to give our normal number away because we want to segment out where these people came from. A Google Voice number is amazing because you can track the numbers that came in, but they still end up on your regular phones, right? And so it's a way to segment it out, and it's free. So, of course, you're going to use a service like that in those experimental worlds because it's absolutely free. So the question is that using these to connect to devices. Now, I'll tell you this. I connected a Google Voice number to my Alexa device, Amazon Echo, and I also connected it to a Google Pixel phone. I've never tried to connect it to any legitimate phone systems. It's always been a cellular device or an Amazon Echo. So I can't make a recommendation. That would be really cool if you had a voice over IP phone that connects to the internet and then you just send a Google number. That would be amazing because it's a free number. So text me back and let me know if that's what you're asking. If you know of a piece of hardware that will take a Google Voice number, because I'd be super interested in previewing that as part of the next hardware that we take a look at and unbox and whatnot. So interesting, but you should be able to. There's nothing stopping you from plugging a phone into the internet, sending, a MAC address or connecting that phone to your phone number, and then when that phone rings, that device goes. I mean, there's nothing different between that and something you'd get from AT&T and Verizon. So it should be entirely possible. I hope that answers your question. So 330-729-9977. Let's talk a little bit about mesh wireless. And so I'm going to split these two technologies. They're using the same stuff, but they're done differently. Okay, so you have your traditional wireless that has antennas, right? The Time Warner or Spectrum, AT&T will put a little box in that's your router and your modem, and then they have little antennas off of it that will broadcast a signal, and that's all you need. All-in-one box that handles your wireless and your routing and modem responsibilities. So in those cases, you put them central in the house, you have them run it to, an office, and then that broadcast does fairly well, and you maybe need to run a couple range extenders to extend the capabilities of the wireless. But for most of us, we have one little device that's centralized, and that's really all that we need. Now, when your internet starts getting to be intensive, where we started using Sling TV for our television services, so we needed to bump up our internet speeds. And I couldn't didn't want to run wiring to every room in the house, so that any room in the house has to have Ethernet cable running around. I just thought we should be able to accomplish this with wireless. But the dedicated wireless is what's needed, where you have to have good solid internet, or else you get buffering on your TVs, and nobody will put up with that. Nobody's going to cut the cable, go watch some TV, and in the middle of a football game get buffering. Nobody's going to do it. So the wireless has to be pretty solid, more than just a little wired antenna router can provide. It's meant to be like the shotgun of wireless, where it gets a job done, it spreads it sporadically, and it usually accomplishes normal internet feeds. But when you need something solid, you got to up that game. Now, the second thing that after what came out next was mesh wireless. Okay, so if you're familiar with how cellular telephone systems work, you drive around and you're connected to antennas. As you move around, you're handed off to other antennas. So the antennas know where each other are, and they know where you are in relation to them. And when you start moving far away from one, it sees that you're moving closer to another, and it hands off your data connection to the other antennas. Now, early on in cellular, even this system didn't work all that great. When you started, it didn't pass those off. You'd get drop calls between towers, especially between different manufacturers or different service providers. And so, mesh works on the same principle, that as you wander around your house with the device, you get passed from access point to access point. Because really how wireless should be done is that you should have smaller devices that don't broadcast quite as far. They're not designed to go as far, but you put the density of access points closer together. So you have a little bit more overlap, so you need more of them. Okay, so we started using Wi-Fi routers and access points, where the router kind of had all the important stuff in it, and the controller had the important stuff in it. And these access points were relatively cheap. I mean, they were maybe $100 or $125 per access point, but you can spread them out, and then the controller would know where they are in relation to one another, and it would sort of manage how devices, participated. You can, have one offload if an access point's really busy, it has 15 devices on it, and the other one only has 5. Even though that it's got a stronger signal, it could start making decisions to say, hey, well, where this one might be a little bit further away, it has less traffic, let's put you on this one. So the mesh wireless is just a little bit more sophisticated than just a connect to an access point and you have internet thing. It is allowed to make some decisions. Well, last week, I picked up a Google Wi-Fi setup. Okay, remember, I told you that I don't want to or can't run Ethernet to every room. Okay, so what I did was I ran Ethernet that was easy to run. So if I had an exposed wall, there would be an access point there. If I could get cabling on the rafters and, maybe drill through one floor, I could do that. But I wasn't capable of getting anything through walls or stuff like that, just the way that, my house was built. So I had 3 access points, and one was at the far south side of the house, and I had one that was in the basement. And so I had this area where, one bedroom was really strong, but on the for the north side of the house, it was really weak. So I had to actually set up a USB adapter that was close enough to the doorway to be able to get good signal in that room. So it was not the best setup. And so what I was waiting for is something that would allow me to set up these hubs, these mesh wireless hubs, without having to run a separate Ethernet cable to every one of my access points. So last weekend, I was finally sick of having, Wi-Fi in half of the house, just, hard to get to. And it was consistent. It just wasn't, it wasn't by any means had afterburners on it or anything. So I went and got this Google Wi-Fi. Basically, you have one device that you plug in to, and it acts as your router. And the other two devices don't need any wires. Okay, they communicate with each other on its own dedicated. They communicate each other with their own dedicated Wi-Fi, and they'll send the wireless signal to the device, and then it can broadcast in the new area. So I went to the rooms that were, were semi, that needed to be connected, and so I did the one in the basement that took place of the main router. And then I did one floor up, almost right above it, where I knew that I could never get an Ethernet cable to. Put it right above there, and boom, I had wireless, full strength, on floor number 1, and it's the best travel. It reached even that, because it wasn't on the south side of the house anymore, because it was right in the center. It reached all the way back to the to the north side, because it was breaking it in half and making it only travel halfway across the house. And then I put the third one on the upstairs, and I'm telling you, this has been the easiest install of mesh wireless I've ever done, because of the wiring aspect of it. I didn't have to worry about power injectors or power over Ethernet or running cables. This was literally plug it in, open an app on your phone, and have the app search for your devices and configure them. So it was amazingly easy. And I did so. I mean, I'll tell you, you don't have a lot of controls doing this, where you can't get into the router, and it's not like your Netgears or your Linksys, where you can start doing sophisticated things. Or else I haven't discovered them if it's capable. But it was so super easy to install. So for $250, I got these 3 pods that I set up in 3 different locations, and I got full house coverage with AC. It was 1200 AC, Google Wi-Fi 1200 AC, and have been super happy with it. It's doing everything I need it to do. So if you're looking to do Wi-Fi, and again, on the other side of this break, I'll talk more about traditional, but in the case of mesh, this is a really good easy man's version, like the easy version of this, for every man, that it could be installed, and it was a breeze. So, all right, talk more about this when we come back. 330-729-9977. Or you can text me at 333-1570. This is the Youngstown Computer Show on 570. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. And you got me here for the next half hour or so. If you want to shoot me off any text messages, 333-1570. As you're scooting around town here, feel free to ask anything. Anything's on your mind, make sure you send it over to me, and I'll be happy to answer those questions as the show progresses. And now a little bit about the traditional. Before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about the stuff that we do. Last year around this time, December, the Nutcracker came to town, and we didn't have a sellout crowd. And I took that really personal when we got this amazing show that came to Youngstown, and it was only a third sold out, and that made me mad. So I started a website called youngstownreport.com, and its whole goal was to all of you out there listening in Youngstown, if you decide not to go to a show, right, I at least want you to know that it was here. I talked to so many people after it didn't sell out, and I said, so why didn't you go downtown, or did you even know about it? And most of the people that I talked to had no idea that it was even coming to town. So I wanted to set up, there's no reason for, it's a free service. Check out Youngstown Report. It's a free service to get listing for events that are on there. So there's no reason not to visit Youngstown Report and help us support by getting the word out that it keeps us connected on what's going on in Youngstown. Vindy does a website that does the same thing with, I think it's Valley 24. Same thing. They do a really good job with every event in our area is published there. Mine is a very consolidated list of big events, things that are, you really want to know about that are coming to town, big events like Nutcracker and things that are happening down at Covelli. So make sure that you support youngstownreport.com. Check it out every morning. We do an update every day, so it'll keep up on things that are happening around town, as well as the events. We also have sponsors. Dobbin-Meyer Insurance was somebody who came on before the numbers even, made it a worthwhile decision. Now, so we get enough visitors to justify it, but they were in and supported us right from the get-go. So for that, we're very grateful that they spent advertising dollars to support youngstownreport.com. But all of you listeners and people who have the interest of our town at heart, make sure that you visit it once a morning. That's all I'm asking. First thing in the morning when you're checking out the news, make it a destination, put it in your bookmarks, and make sure you check it out in the mornings. And feedback, as always, if you want to give us any information, there's a contact form on the page. Suggestions about events or suggestions, design, and all that kind of stuff. Works well with mobile devices, so you can also add it to your home screen on your Android or Apple devices. And again, you guys have always come through for me, so I know that it's just a matter of asking and guiding. So if anybody wants advertising too over there, we have 2 more spots on the top of the page next to Dobbin-Meyer to support the site. It's not a real big revenue generator, but it's one of those, I take it as a personal thing. That we do our part to make it more promoter friendly, more event friendly, more news friendly, and maybe someone will pick that up and absorb it, and the population in general will check out things that are happening locally. So instead of going off to Pittsburgh and spending your money, try to spend your entertainment dollars. Let Youngstown earn your entertainment dollars and your restaurant dollars and your shopping dollars. All right, we're gonna take a break. Come back to some more of your phone calls, 330-729-9977 or 333-1570 on the text messaging. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. All right, news article. What is likely the largest 3D printer in the world is in a place that might surprise you at first. Inside a nondescript warehouse in Youngstown, Ohio. Why Youngstown? Because that's where Michael Garvey, president of Center Street Technologies, is from. I'm part of a family that started manufacturing in this area about 100 years ago, Garvey said. Garvey teamed up with chief engineer Dr. Slade Gardner, who spent the last 2 decades working on a large-scale 3D printing around the country before realizing those dreams in Youngstown. It's 12 foot wide, 25 feet long, and 8 feet tall. Right now, their 3D printer is in the final stages of completion. They hope to be printing prototypes for automotive bodies by the first quarter of 2019. So what is a massive 3D printer that uses carbon fiber good for? Prototypes and complicated designs, according to Gardner. So I'm reading you this article because in Youngstown, Ohio, we have a 3D printer that will be printing in carbon fiber, making prototypes for engineering, such as big body. I mean, let me repeat that scale to you. 12 foot wide, 25 foot long, and 8 foot tall. You can print a lot of big devices, even if you had to assemble bigger items from smaller pieces, right? This is going to be amazing. And we are, like I said, we are in the prime time to be in Youngstown in manufacturing because, the politicians and the entrepreneurs, they put so much energy and money and their power and their energy to bring this stuff to Youngstown, and all of this stuff has taken root. Down at YBI, there's an extensive amount of talented people that are here in Youngstown, not floating around to bigger markets where their skill sets. I love the fact that you can go to college at a great university at Youngstown State, get engineering and stuff in additive manufacturing, and you can end up working for companies that are here in Youngstown doing stuff in this industry. So I want to hats off to everybody. I don't know your names. I don't know what piece you played in this, but I want to thank you on behalf of all of the listeners here and the populace for doing what you can to bring this kind of attention to Youngstown, Ohio. It's exactly what we needed. And so thank you. And I hope that if you had hands in this, please share your stories with us, because that's the exciting stuff. These people, they don't get the attention because we don't know how it works in the overall scheme of things. But I really like to discover, the people that put themselves on the line for Youngstown, Ohio, because I'm going to make sure that if somebody overextended themselves for these opportunities, that we make sure that we protect those people and make sure that they are, they're not taken for granted for what they've done for this area. And in the past, we might have done that kind of stuff, but no more. We really know the value in the people that go to bat for us because they really don't have to. There's some people that I know could be making way more money in other markets that chose to be here and do the business here and sludge it out to try to make things happen here. And it's that charitable love that they've extended to all of us and all of Youngstown. And like I said, I know they're not out there looking for the credit for any of this. So with that in mind, I want to make sure that we give credit, even if it's anonymous credit. I want to thank all of you who've done something to help the cause with Youngstown, Ohio. We all appreciate it, and we all love you for it. All right, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Barb next. Barb, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Well, I don't know. I just came up from the barn, and I had a message on my land phone, and it says, customer support of computer has expired. Computer license key expired. What does that mean?
It could be a scam. I mean, do you have remote support or anything like that?
I have an iPad.
Yeah, it's probably a scam. There's some emails and some websites that are generating messages that try to trick you into doing something, giving information away, installing software, something like that. And basically the message is something similar like that. They want to get remote access to your device. Well, they don't realize it's an iPad, so that's not going to help them much at all. So you don't have to worry about those scams. Just close them out. And don't ever call the numbers.
Good. That's what I thought. So I don't know much about this stuff, so I'm always asking people about it. So that was a new one. I had no idea what that could mean.
Gotcha.
I didn't know if they had a license key to stuff like that. So, hey, you know what? Thanks so much. It really, it might have saved me a lot of aggravation if I had called.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling.
All right. Thanks again. Very much.
No problem, Barb. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Okay, so and those scams, and they're pretty sophisticated. You know how like we were talking about our devices can sort of make decisions? Well, these scammers are sophisticated too, where the things that they're hacking, they're sort of like gathering information on us. We had one that called our office last week and said, "Hey, I just got an email from somebody, and they said that, hey, we've been watching your activity. We know the websites you've been going to, and I know they're embarrassing. And we see the pictures that are on your computer, and those are also embarrassing. And we can open your camera and look at you anytime we want. And your password that you had is blah, blah, blah." And they actually posted in this email the password that was one of the passwords the user used. So all of this stuff, okay, yeah, your first sentence, I doubt it. You can't get here. And then they hit you with something that's true, like your password, and it seals the deal all the way up the page. You're like, oh, they know my password. Maybe they are in my pictures. Maybe they do know this. And then boom, these sophisticated psychological attacks. You got to remember, most of your stuff, your name, your address, things about you have gotten into the hands of other people, right? The stuff that you can control, like your passwords, we change them often enough. So if they hacked a password that we used to use in the early 2000s, so what? If you tell me what it is right now, you can't do anything with it. I've changed all of my passwords since then. But these scams are using different pieces of information. You have a profile, like a black market profile out there of stuff about you that people have gotten their hands on. I mean, the government, for just last week, 75,000 people who were in the insurance exchanges, that information was leaked. Think about the detail, the level of detail of information that now scammers have on you, that they can just call you up. They can use that against you. Hey, I see you're at blah, blah, blah. I'm looking in your window right now. I see you're at 5127, State Street. Go down and get me some iTunes gift cards, or right now I'm going to have the police come arrest you. Like, those are the types of scams that they're engineering using real information that they have about you, your phone number, your address, where your, who your employer is, where you shop. I mean, all this stuff is out there. You got to understand that when these people don't give them, that credit. So what I tell most people is don't trust anything that comes over email, the computer, the phone. I don't even trust people that show up at my door. I will always stop the incoming call and call someone back. I will basically say, hey, someone calls me and they say they're from my bank and it says that my credit card, got hacked and something is going on. I'll say, okay, give me the number to call back, give me the case number, and I'll call you back, right? Because I'm not calling the number you give me, I'm calling my bank back. And if I can't get to you by calling my bank, then too bad. I don't care what you have to say. I'm calling my bank because my bank would know about it. If there's a hack, they're going to be aware of it as well. So every call that comes in or every email that comes in, I'll take the information, no doubt. I'm not giving it credibility until Joe has verified that it's legitimate. And I'm going to already think right from the get-go that you're not legitimate. So you've got something working against you. You got to buy me back, and it's going to be more than fear. Okay? Yeah, okay, the FBI's coming to my house. They're going to arrest me. Good. Awesome. If I don't act quickly, it's going to even get worse. Okay, awesome. I don't believe you yet. You have to give me something to believe you. Well, we know what your address is. Yeah, so does everybody else, right? You know how I'm going to believe you? Is if I go to my statement and I call that number and I get you. That's how I'm going to call. I have to verify you are suspect. You are suspect right now. I give you suspect credibility right off the get-go. And that's all of you should do the same thing. You protect yourself by being suspicious with everything, no matter what they say, what they know about you. Verify it. Call someone you trust. I totally get that part of it, but don't act on it just because they called you. They show up at your house and say there's some. I don't care. I don't believe you. So that's my word of advice for these scams, because they're really sophisticated and they're tricking a lot of people, which isn't fair. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Perry next. Perry, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi.
Hey, that's great advice, because I just got a call from about the scamming, American Express, and I'm thinking to myself the same thing. I'll call you back. How do I know you're from American Express?
Bingo.
The gas companies are calling me. They're coming to shut my meters off in a half hour if I don't give them information. Stuff like that. They're trying to switch it to another gas company.
Yep.
If you're not used to that, boy, you can get pressured. But anyway, hey, the reason I was calling, I was listening to you in the car on the way home, and I said, let me see if I can get in today. When I go to open a PDF on my email, usually it opens up, it should say open, save, or cancel. When I click on open, then it gives me open or save. I have to delete off the save box, click on open, and it says open with. Then I got to click on Adobe Reader. It's like 4 extra steps. Is there something wrong with that? Because it should just click on open and open it right up.
Okay. Is it Windows 10?
No, it's Windows 7 Premium Professional.
Okay, so there's an epic battle between Microsoft and Adobe to be the default application to open PDFs. So if you have both of them on there, you have Microsoft and you have Adobe, you can specify what application is used to open certain types of files. So if you go in Control Panel and I think it's like default apps or I forget what it is on Windows 7. On Windows 10, it's under settings and defaults. And so if you look at it, there's one section under defaults and it's basically file types. You can look for extensions, like in this case it would be PDF, find out what's listed next to PDF. If it's not Adobe Reader, you can select Browse, I believe, and select Adobe Reader.
So that's under defaults, because I'm at home right now. I have a Windows 7 Premium, and I just tested it on an email, and it opened it right up with no problem instead of doing 4 extra clicks. So, Okay, so when I go on there, I got to go to defaults.
Yes.
Under the Control Panel.
That's it. That's your easiest way, because that lists all of your default applications, and you can just go down there, find PDF on the list, and make sure Adobe Reader is what's set.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty easy. Well, that's all I needed. That'll save me a lot of aggravation.
There you go.
Appreciate the help.
Yep.
You're doing it's a great show. People should really listen, get a lot of great tips.
Well, thank you, Perry. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Take care. Have a good
weekend.
weekend.
Bye.
Right, bye-bye. Okay, and another step that you can take, and I believe on Windows 7 you had to do the Shift key to get this, but if you find a PDF that's already saved on your machine and you hit Shift and right-click on it, you'll get an Open With little menu, and when you go to Open With, you'll get a dialog box, and you can check the box that says Always Open File Types with this application. If you want to try that too, that's another way. I gave you the for-sure way of getting behind the scenes and doing it, but you can try with that as well. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Bob next. Bob, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, Joe. I got Two questions. One might have to wait till next week, but I have two machines. One, an older machine, XP, has Firefox on it, and a newer one, Win 7, that has Firefox. XP opens up like right away, goes right to, if I Google anything. On the Win 7 machine, it says down at the bottom corner, it says waiting for Google, sending information to Google, transferring data to double click, add click. How do I get it to make it act like the XP machine?
Okay, so repeat that because I lost you at some point there. So you're saying you have Firefox as a browser in both locations, and when you go to Firefox on XP, it's fast, and you just type in something and it goes there. On the Windows 7, now this is where I lost you. So you open up Firefox and you type in a URL, then what's it do?
Down at the bottom left-hand corner, it says sending information to Google, and then it says waiting for Google, performing TLS handshake, waiting for double-click, sending data to double-click, add-click. It just seems like it's going through all these steps that XP didn't go through.
Okay, what I want you to do is reset the browser. So when you go into your settings and control panel, there's some options that will allow you to clear like the temporary files and the cache and stuff like that. I'm thinking that you might even have to delete the Firefox profile and recreate it. If it's not a networking thing, if you're for sure your DNS is working, which if it's working on the other one, I'm pretty sure that it's okay too. If you don't have any weird settings in there where it's struggling to be able to get to a setting, and if you don't have proxy enabled, then your profile is probably damaged, and you might have to either uninstall, reinstall Firefox, or recreate a new user profile, and then clean out all of the temporary and the cache that's in there, and that'll probably speed it up a little bit.
Okay, great. Sounds good. The other question is a network, a wireless network. Am I correct in assuming that the base computer that hooks into the router, you can set up a firewall, and then your other PCs and laptops in the household will kind of act under that firewall? And the reason I'm asking this, if there was a malicious program, say on a laptop, and it wanted to communicate with the internet without my permission, how do I stop that?
All right, so your router is going to be most of doing the firewalling. So you have incoming connections coming in. The router defends against those. Now you also have a firewall that's on each individual computer, and each individual computer is responsible for protecting that computer and the data from fetching and moving things around. So you kind of want both for in that circumstance. It's not one computer won't cover the rest of them because your gateway is actually the router. Okay, so each one connects to the router directly, not going through the other computers. So what I'd probably do on Windows 7 machines, and Windows 7 and Windows 10, just use the built-in firewall that's in Control Panel. Set it up so that your connection to the gateway is protected. Does two things. It protects you from fetching coming in, and it also protects you from computer to computer. So if your computer A got infected and goes out to your network and tries to infect other computers, the firewall gives you a chance of it blocking those connections.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
You have a great show, Joe.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate you being out there.
Thanks.
Bye. All right, take care. Have a good weekend. And most of us, you have your router, you have the software that's on the router, you have the default connections. Usually by default, they won't allow traffic to come from the outside world into your computer. It has to be initiated from computer going to the outside world. And so that's kind of what you want. Now, it's not the be all. So some local firewall protection. Where we used to not recommend that as much as we do right now. The way that viruses and malware is working, it actually gives you a fair chance in defending against a malware infection or an encryption virus and something like that. So Windows updates, very important to keep Windows always on its most recent version with all of the patches that come along every couple Tuesdays a month. So, all right, we're going to take a break. We have another call coming up. Bill, I see you out there. Hang tight. And we're going to take this break. Come back. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I'm Joe Danier. Let's see if we can take this call nice and quick. Go right out to Bill. Bill, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Question about a router. My router is probably 7 or 8 years old. And it's really getting to be slow and sometimes not working at all. And my provider is CenturyLink. Should I go through CenturyLink and get a new router, or can I just have you recommend me get a new router?
Definitely, after 5 years, I do recommend that you purchase another one. I mean, in 8 years, in your case, technology changes so much. You're not taking advantage of what's capable of being out there, and we use it so often. We don't want to skimp on something that is so important in our local network. Now, did you say that your router you got from your service provider the first time through?
Yeah, and it's the same one I've had for probably, 7 or 8 years. So I know it's outdated and it's really slow.
Yeah, and when you sign up with service, you pay a monthly fee for that equipment, and so that way, if it goes down, they bring you a new one. So what you might want to do, they don't let you opt out of that usually, so you're going to pay that regardless. You might want to call them first and see what equipment they have that you can swap out for. Let them know it's kind of aged and you're ready for a new one, and see if you can get that equipment for the same price without having to buy your own. I always prefer my own equipment. I can do more with it. I can control the settings. It's just more open for a guy like me to be able to use it, but that's not everybody.
Yeah. If I would happen to buy one outright myself, which would you recommend, and how much would a good one cost?
If you're doing mesh wireless, I love that Google Wi-Fi. I mean, it worked out so well in my place. If you just want a central router that has the antennas on it, we're using the Linksys AC routers. They've got a couple of nice sized antennas. I wouldn't go killer. I mean, they've got $500 routers. That's not for you. It's probably the $200 one is more what you're looking at. I think it's the AC 1900 is the one that we buy mostly.
Okay, I know somebody mentioned what it's called, Google Home.
Yep.
Okay, how was that one? That pretty decent one?
Oh, it was. I'm so impressed. I was not expecting much, and when I got it set up, and I didn't have to do anything. I was expecting it to be more, have to take more effort, but it was so simple.
Okay, well maybe I'll call my provider and see what they say. Then if not, I'll just get my own.
There you go.
Hey, thanks a lot, Joe. Have a good weekend.
Hey, you do the same. Thanks, Bill. Bye. Appreciate it. So yeah, I mean that's amazing show. I really appreciate when the participation level allows the conversations to deviate in 1,000 different areas where we don't necessarily have to keep the same topic all program long, and then all of us even me, every time I pick up something new. That texter that sent us a message earlier about their Google Voice. They use it the same way that I do. They use it to not have to give up their normal or their mobile number so that somebody can send them pictures, and then all their voicemail and the pictures come in through an email, which makes it so super simple. So the devices that we're talking about were their mobile devices and whatnot. So thank you for that text message. Check out Google Voice if you haven't before, especially if you have a Gmail account. It's probably already there. You just have to go pick out a number to start using it. All right, we are off next week, so no Youngstown Computer Show next week, but the next week, I think? Yeah, but anyway, have a great week, everyone. Enjoy this awesome Ohio weather, and take care. We'll see you next time. This is the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN.